Now, just as we're waiting to start the session, this is a marvelous example of traditional, old-fashioned marketing. Because Jolly has been distributing thousands of these across the state of Florida in the past few days. I think I've been handed about 6 of them. So you can tweet, you can Facebook, you can do all these things. Solid, traditional, black and white copy. Well done.
Correction, mine came with a $20 bill that
Well, we need that to fix the item. Okay. So.
Before you start, just so everyone's aware, we have the camera crew in here. It's not media, so don't worry. It's just from Elsevier, part of our marketing department, and making a kind of promotional video about the conference. So if anyone doesn't want to be on camera, can you just let me know now so we won't film you?
You can put my face on.
Well, I'm very disappointed. I didn't have one camera and Jalayer's got 2. Okay, anyway, on to the serious stuff. Jalayer, would you like to?
Yeah.
Thank you very
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining me in my presentation today. I'm going to talk about travelers' motivation and destination choice from different perspective today. So the first author of this paper is Mina Hosseini. She's a master's student at Allame Tabatabai University in Tehran, Iran, but she's still waiting for US visa, so I should present this study. My name is Jalayer Khalilzadeh. I go with Jolly, and I'm Iranian as well. And the third author, Ladan Ghahramani, is from North Carolina University. And we did this study a couple of years ago, but this analysis is very new. So basically with this study, we're trying to provide you an example of the method we used, we created, we combined different methods together for this study. So this is not just answering those 2 questions that we have about this study, but also showing you how to use network analysis and mathematical modeling in qualitative studies in order to get more in-depth understandings of the data. So this is what we have told, and we believe in this, and we have so many papers and books about it, that tourism is the catalyst for the peace. And it improved the courtesy and cross-cultural understanding and mutual trust between nations and people. And most of these studies come based on one single theory, which is democratic peace theory by Immanuel Kant. And we add that to in the tourism literature like 20 years ago, saying that having democratic systems and societies help to have mutual trust and respect, and also norm externalization, which lead to peace and that lead to political stability, which goes to safety and security increase. And the result of this is basically we love safety and security as tourists, tourism increase, cultural understanding increase, and that help again mutual trust and understanding. But the problem is in most of the studies and literature, they ignore this. This is a different kind of relationship. These relationships are almost definite, but those 2 are indefinite. Those are highly dependent to the traveler's motivation and destination structure. So we designed this study in order to study the attitudes of the travelers. And that's the way we study mutual understanding and trust in most of the tourism studies. So the problem is, when you look at the literature, there are so many different results, contradictory results. Some say it has positive impact, some says it has no impact, some says it has negative impact, mixed impact also reported. And recently in 2014, Dr. Oysel and a couple of other researchers reported that in Journal of Travel Research reported that prejudicial beliefs appear for the German tourists after visiting Turkey. So they come back, they go to Turkey without those beliefs and come back with those beliefs. So in this study, we are trying to answer 2 very maybe easy questions. One is, if you have controversial or conflictual attitudes toward a destination, are you going to visit that destination or not? And the second is, we are trying to see in a simple word, why you don't do what you don't do, or your motivation for not to going somewhere, unlike the other studies that look at the motivation to going to somewhere. So before getting into the method, I need to justify my method using this, and it's basically a kind of mind mapping, but not traditional one, which is so subjective. We use network analysis to create a mathematical model of the constructs and their relationship. The model is based on human associative memory, which simply says whatever you memorize, whatever goes to your memory, is based on the concepts associated together. So you cannot memorize single item. You usually see things with their context. You memorize them with their relationship to the context. So we borrowed that from cognitive psychology, and we used network analysis to build this model. We select 40 participants. This is exploratory qualitative study. So we select 40 participants in Iran. And this sampling method is the purposive selective sampling. We asked them one simple question. Mention 4 destinations you never visit, and then say why you don't visit those destinations. 2 open-end questions. And the first one, if they give us like continent or region, we ask them to give us the region or continent. We ask them to give us country. If they don't, we keep it as it is. So we might have like African or South Asia. And we used content analysis, sentence by sentence coding technique to extract the nodes. And then after extracting the nodes, we have 2-level nodes, countries and attitudinal constructs. And this one is our interest. This is just for descriptive purposes. And since we are using network analysis, I have to talk about 3 major centrality measures that we used. The first one is degree, which simply is how many direct connections you as a node in the network have to other nodes, immediate connections. And then betweenness, how many times you appear to be in between of any other pair of nodes in the closest way. And the last one, which is closeness, is how close are you to all other nodes in the network. So we use these 3 aspects of centrality measure in our study, which I'm going to present the results now. Before that, also we defined these terms for our study. Lack of interest, almost no or low prejudicial attitudinal content. Then we have negative attitudes. In order to discriminate between these 3, we have their definitions from Treasure. So the first one is the opposition. The hostility is the opposition. And then antagonism is an active hostility. So it's basically more severe. And finally, racism basically is if you consider yourself as superior or higher than other race or ethnicities or classes. And we consider this as the highest possible prejudicial content. So I'm going to give you example of one of all of those 3. So this is what we did in content analysis. Someone said, they may have a lot of attractions, but none of them is attractive to me. So we consider that as lack of interest. This one says, especially men behavior with women is very bad. Women use hijab, which she means that kind of Islamic code of dressing for women, which I don't like it either. And we consider that as negative attitude. And then this person said that I think they are against us. We consider this kind of statements as hostility. And this one says, I hate Iraq and Iraqi people because of their role in 8 years of war between Iraq and Iran. So this we consider as antagonism. And finally, this guy basically confessed that I'm a racist person. I don't like Arabs, especially Saudi one. So we consider this as racism. And after, of course, so many other attitudinal constructs, this is the profile of the people who participate in our study. As you can see, it's only 40, but we try to have kind of representative sample for Iranian travelers. And since I don't have enough time, I'm not going to detail of the descriptives. I'm going to just pass them to the main network. So all in all, we have 45 destinations out of this study and 22 attitudinal constructs. You can see top 10 of both here based on their frequency. And as you can see here, in terms of frequency, these are top 4. But this is frequency, and this is 40 people, so we cannot trust it. It's not quantitative study. So we use it as a matrix. We put the countries in the rows, we put the attitudinal constructs in the columns, and these are the number of times those assigned to those countries. Those attitudinal constructs are assigned to those countries, and this is the result of that. I'm not sure if people in the back can see it because it's very small, but just one example, and we used Fracterman and Reingold layout to draw this. Just one simple example. For example, Azerbaijan has degree of 1 because the only attitudinal construct assigned to that is expensive. So the red dots or rosy brown dots are the countries, and the yellow dots are the attitudinal construct. Again, I don't want to spend much time on this because of the main network that I'm going to talk about, but just for now, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Syria were among the countries that people in my sample didn't want to go. Now, we want to eliminate these country names and just keep the attitudes to more investigation. How we do it, we take the matrix and multiply it by the transposed matrix. If you do that, rows are out. Rows are the repetition of the columns. So basically this shows that, for example, lack of interest 7 times paired with climate. Or, for example, cuisine 1 time paired with climate. And how it paired, both of them assigned to the same country. So this is symmetrical. So the lower triangle is the same as upper triangle. Now we can draw the network for this one. And this is the result of that network. We put them in red. Those are the prejudicial attitudes. These greens are important because they are in basically the center of the network, but they are not prejudicial. So we keep them, but they are not basically interest of our study. And the rest, the blue ones, are not that important. They are just mentioned a couple of times, not for all the countries, just for a couple of them. So just one more quick point on this, then we go to the 3D way of this. Racism is not that important, but the rest, lack of interest, antagonism, hostility, and negative attitudes are in the middle. Just to have, I don't have time to show the whole 3 minutes of this video, but just to have some basic understanding of the structure of the network, I want you to notice this 3D presentation of the network. So we are going to zoom in the lack of interest. In that way, you can have better understanding of the degree, which is number 1 construct in our study. And it's number 2 in terms of betweenness. But as you can see, the closeness is number 13. So it's very important construct, but it's not close to the others. And it's obvious because it comes from racist people or prejudicial attitudes. The other one can be hostility. I'm not going with the movie speed because I want to talk less than 3 minutes about this. So negative attitudes. The interesting part of negative attitudes is that it's kind of bridging all the other networks to the main network. So that's why it's important. The betweenness is very high for negative attitudes, but still closeness for both of them is very weak. So you might say, okay, these are the attitudes that are very important, negative attitudes, but their closeness is not that important. So the closeness is very weak, so they are not close to the major attitude, major other attitudes. But the problem is, look at antagonism. The closeness is number 3. So we have any kind of prejudicial attitudes. Some of them are so close to so many other, because basically this is your mind as a participant in my study. I map your mind, how you talk about these countries. And that's dangerous because we have antagonism, which is so close. We have negative attitudes, which is bridging. If we drop it, basically your memory is gone. And we have racism, which is strong, but not that strong to be the major construct of our study. So let me finish this video here and go back to my study. I want to just confirm what I said here using sphere geometry analysis. So we put all of them in a 3D dimension aspect of closeness, betweenness, and degree. We want to see which one is the most influential attitudes in terms of choosing or not choosing a destination. Okay, those with the green lines have, of course, positive error. With the red lines have negative errors, and they are basically behind this regression surface. So their color of the font is kind of dim. So these are the constructs of interest we are interested in. Let's see which one is the most important. If we pick a hypothetical point at the edge of our three-dimension area, which has the highest degree, highest closeness, highest betweenness, that would be this one. We have a systematic way to calculate this, which I'm going to explain next slide. Now, if we take a balloon and blow it until the surface gets to one of these nodes, we can calculate the radius of that sphere and say that's the distance of that one from the most central, strongest, influential attitudinal node in our network. This is just a simple presentation of what I'm saying. That one for hostility, this one for religious issues. So we did it for all of them. Then when you do that, it's easy to calculate the distance of the nodes from that central point. And we use z-values because betweenness numbers are very big, so we cannot incorporate them with a small number of closeness. So we standardize the values, we calculate them, and these are basically distances of those nodes from that hypothetical node, which is the strongest influential node in our network, which doesn't exist, obviously, and see the ranking. Lack of interest is number 1, maybe not that bad, but then hostility, number 2. We have negative attitudes as number 5 out of 22, antagonism number 9, and racism is number 13 out of 22. So very direct implication of this. Prejudicial attitudes are among the major reasons that visitors might consider not to visit a destination. There are other attitudinal constructs, but these are like 3 out of 5 are those attitudes. Even if we accept that tourism can improve mutual understanding, they won't go to that destination simply because of those attitudes they have. So I won't go to visit like Syria, Iraq, Israel because of my mindset. Let's say if I go to Israel, my mindset will change, but who's going to take me because I don't want to go? And last one, maybe tourism is not the reason of peace. It's just the result of peace. We need peace to have tourism. We cannot try to have tourism in order to have peace. And maybe Mark Twain made a mistake saying travel is fatal to prejudice. It seems that prejudice is fatal to traveler. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Joy. Excellent presentation. I'm sure people have got lots of questions.